Hello, today for review I've got yet another Chinese in-ear monitors with really unusual internal schema. And as you can see, it's TRI, it's a KB ear sub-brand, so probably you already guessed that this model is i3. And it's really unusual because they've used here, if I remember right, 8mm dynamic driver, 10mm planar magnetic driver and a balanced armature, so unusual tuning and schema. I don't know why they released some in-ear monitors under KB ear brand, like pretty good dynamic driver KB ear Diamond that I reviewed recently, and others they reviewed under TRI sub-brand. Well, I think it's not that important, but anyway, it's pretty curious. The price retail price is $190, but often you can get them with a discount for less than $150. For example, currently I see in the mobile version of AliExpress they are sold for $147. Of course, this could be changed in any site, but KB ear sometimes have discounts, so you can wait for them. But now let's have a closer look. Package is simple but done nicely. Really plain black cardboard. Actually, I can say that it looks pretty stylish. On the back side there are basic technical specifications, so 103 decibels of sensitivity and 15 ohms of impedance, so it's pretty good figures. Of course, I'd like to see higher impedance, but thanks to low sensitivity they won't be too hissy. Inside everything is pretty familiar and traditional. Nice storage pouch. Earphones themselves. I'm not a fan of this pseudo velvet. I don't know who likes it, but it's often matte. Also, you will have 3 pair of really soft white silicone tips, 3 pair of traditional gray silicone tips with green stamps, and a pair of foams. So basically, as you can see, pretty good accessories set, including really nice cable. In terms of designs, they are great. Maybe tastes differ, but I think vast majority of users will like this mirror-like finished polished aluminum. It looks really attractive. They are a bit heavy, but not too much to cause some issues with wearing. So they are really heavy, feels really durable. You know, it's a sense of solid feel in hand. They have nice ergonomic shape, everything is rounded and smooth, so they look really futuristic. They have a well-extended spout, so thanks to that they're providing really good fit, really comfortable wearing, and above the average sound isolation. Of course, this mirror-like finish gather fingerprints, but it's the price you pay for this beauty. So, spouts are extended, there is a lip for holding the tips, grill to protect internals, so everything is done on really nice level. So okay, we'll put it back later, so we won't spend time. Interesting faceplate with wave on it. Cable is made replaceable. Here used MM6 connectors, they are really tight, so I suppose they will provide a good fit. They remind me of the first sci-fi movie that I've seen in my life. It was Flight of Navigator. They have some similar chrome shining spaceship. So, stock cable is also pretty nice. It's declared to be silver-plated copper. It looks attractive. It has ear hooks formed, but of course no memory wire. No one likes memory wire nowadays. It looks really accurate, it's nicely braided, really good braiding pattern, if it could be named this way. So it goes down to the splitter, there is a chin slider, but cable isn't super soft, but it's definitely on the softer side. It's not getting hard when it's cold, thanks to thickness. It's not tangling easily, so really good in terms of ergonomic. Of course, when it's cold outside, metal shells will cause you more problems than this cable, but not getting hard when it's cold. It's a nice thing. And after the splitter, it goes loosely braided, like if I remember right, some iBasso models used such braiding of cable. And it goes to the pretty traditional straight jack with carbon insert, so nice. Cable looks attractive, really usable, and in general these IEM monitors are also really stylish and built really well. And about the sound, so I already put the player on the table. This time it's Lo2Po Gold Touch. So I've got two flagships, so I need to alter them from time to time. And they require a burn-in, so about 15 hours or so is required to make mids more coherent and a bit more resolving. So also, of course, they require a proper tip selection, and actually tips here can change the sound. So with these tips, for example, you will have noticeably less low frequencies, and with these tips they sounding more natural and leaning towards the monitoring side, and with that softer wide tips, you will have more low frequencies. In general, in terms of tuning, it's a V-shaped signature with noticeably recessed upper mids. Actually, it's a bit surprising, because usually peak on the upper mid starts from about 1 kHz, and here 1 kHz area is recessed, so a bit unusual tuning. But let's probably move from low frequencies, so bass is accented, and depending on tips, they can be called bass heavy. Actually, not super bass heavy, but with noticeable amount of low frequencies. Or with other tips, you can get more natural tuning and less low frequencies. So bass has good slam, pretty good control. Of course, it's not as fast as balanced armature ones. It's a dynamic driver with dynamic driver's weight, with dynamic driver's impact, and also what is noticeable here, bass has good depth, so it goes as well, maybe not to the maximum depth, but close to that area. And it's controlled pretty well. It's good in texturing, but of course don't expect the speed of the balanced armature drivers. Anyway, it's pretty universal, but it depends on the amount that you will get with the tips. So with bass heavy tips, it's better suited for the electronic music, for pop music and other genres where more low frequencies is required. With these tips, actually, it's fairly balanced and sounding really good with acoustic instruments. And as an example, I've got Juno Reactor. It's an example of electronic music. It has noticeable bass line, impactful, punchy, fast, well recorded, and this IEM monitors sounding really good with such music. And also bass here makes a noticeable contrast with mids, giving you this sense of 3D and sense of contrast and balance. Mids are, it's a bit unusual, because they definitely remind the planar magnetic drivers, and you will have pretty good resolution that is really close to the balanced armatures, but at the same time it has a noticeable weight, and it's not sounding as thin and as dry as balanced armature, so you will have enough of energy, but at the same time also, mids are recessed noticeably, so for example, female vocals sometimes lacking a bit of sparkle on the upper mid area. At the same time, male vocal sounding pretty good with good weight and authority. Same applies to the instruments. If they have main frequencies in the 1 kHz area, they are a bit recessed, but in the other parts of spectrum they are sounding really good with good dynamics and really good sense of realism. In terms of stage, they are above average, maybe not super above average, but noticeably above the average, so really good in terms of three-dimensional building or three-dimensional positioning. And as an example, I've got pretty complicated track. It's Pain of Salvation, it's Road Salt 1, or Salt probably 1, and track She Likes to Hide. Well, it's progressive rock, a lot of instruments, sophisticated guitar parts, but of course the main staple of Pain of Salvation's music, it's Gildenlow's vocal. It's emotional and forward and powerful, and this in-ear monitors represent it in a really nice way. And treble is accented, but also accented in the unusual way. They have two peaks, one in the 2-3 kHz area, then they've recessed the part from about 5 kHz up to 8 kHz and made a slight peak at 9 kHz. You know, it's an unusual tuning, but it's pretty smart. Because, you know, usually frequencies from 5 to 8 kHz are the most annoying to vast majority of people. Of course, there are exceptions, and you can be one of these exceptions, but in general, most of people don't like peaks in the 5-8 kHz area, because these peaks giving that metallic and harsh sounding. At the same time, 2-3 kHz adding a bit of presence for the instruments, adding a bit of aggression if you like heavy genres, and 8 kHz peak adding a bit of clarity and saturation with overtones. And traditionally after 10 kHz they are rolled off to accommodate modern music with a lot of compression artifacts in the super high frequencies area. So what it means in simpler words. In simpler words, treble is a bit forward, but usually not sounding harsh and aggressive, but it depends on, I need to highlight that once again, it depends on your perception. If you don't like, for example, 8 kHz or lower parts, they could be sharp to you, so you need to listen to them, because they are not trying to smooth anything, they're not trying to make the polite treble or recess them at all, so they give enough of body of the treble, they have good attacks and decays, so basically, you know, it's a good balanced armature treble, so nice, clean, clear. Maybe decays are a bit shorter that I'd prefer, and sometimes they lacking overtone saturation, and of course layering is super basic, but for this price range it's anyway a good result for the treble. It's sounding pretty realistic. And as an example, the track that I like, it's Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles, and violins, high-pitched vocal with a lot of overtones, and all of that things give hard times to many in-ear monitors in terms of treble, but this one managed to represent this track pretty nicely. So to summarize once again, V-shaped signature, but you can change the amount of low frequencies with tips. As for the treble, it's also done a bit unusual, but anyway, I recommend you to listen in them before buying if you are treble sensitive. If you are not, most probably you won't have any problems. And at the same time they are resolving, they have a good amount of weight and balance. In terms of sources, they require something like, the best probably sources for them is something like iBasso DX160, FIO M11, this range of dubs. They don't require super black background and they don't require tons of power, but using them with smartphones won't make much sense anyway. Speaking about the comparison, there are really a lot of models in this price range, so but I will try to recall just few of them, so if I will miss something or if you're interested in some particular comparison, just please feel free to ask. So anyway, I will try to compare them with some other models that are more or less unusual. So Tin Hi-Fi P1 is more coherent because it's a single balanced, not balanced armature, it's a single planar magnetic driver, but P1 has less low frequencies, noticeably less weight on the lows, but it's also tight. P1 is a bit more weighty on the mids and has a bit sharper treble. And so basically P1 is closer to natural, dry and monitoring representation, while this one is more livelier, especially if you took bass accent into account. TRI's own i4, they are more natural, more monitoring, they're sounding drier. So i4 it's a natural and monitoring in-ear monitors. And Shure tape, whatever it is, they are more V-shaped, they have more lows accent and they have bigger treble accent. Their treble is better defined thanks to the electrostatic driver, but mids are better here, and I think it's pretty expected because they are a bit less V-shaped. Well, there are a lot of other models, I won't try to recall them right now, so just feel free to ask. Okay, yet another model, because I reviewed them recently, it's AudioSense AQ3, pretty similar in terms of price tier, but AQ3, you know, it's a more audiophilic model with less accent on the low frequencies and at the same time more linear on the mids and on the treble area, so they're more linear, a bit more focused on the resolution and micro detalization, while this one sounding more fun, let's call it so. So it was TRI i3, pretty unusual model. If you like such unusual signature, just have a closer look at them. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.